TTC vlog number 2. It's not going to be much of a TTC vlog because I don't really have a lot to talk about this week. I did just end cycle number 1, which I kind of don't want to count it as cycle number 1 because I actually started the night before I started taking metformin, so I really don't, yeah. It was very long though. It lasted about 12 days. It was light like normal, but I think it was longer because of the metformin. So I really haven't had any side effects from the metformin, so it's totally great. I feel very comfortable on it, but I am only taking about 500 milligrams right now. So hopefully, if I get another prescription of it, which I hope I do, the doctor will probably give me a higher dosage, like taking 2 a day instead of just 1. I do kind of feel like it's making me put on a little weight. I weigh about 127, and right now I think I'm almost to 130, and I've never weighed that much in my entire life. I've always been in between 120 for the past 2 years, so it's kind of like, oh, I really don't want to be that. But you know, you think about it, one day when I'm actually pregnant, I will be putting on about 20 to 30 pounds, so I better get over it. But since my TTCing part is very short this week, I kind of figured that I would make a video about me and my husband. So when we met, I was 18 and he was 26, and we actually met at a church activity. This is when I decided to start going back to church, and he texted me that weekend while I was at work, which I worked at Quiznos at that time. It was my very first job, and I had been there for about 2 years. And he texted me that Saturday and said that I was going to go to church with him that Sunday. And I had no idea who it was. I was like, who is this? He goes, well, it's that tall, dark, and handsome guy you met on Wednesday. So we were playing Frisbee that night. I don't know if I already said that or not. So I went to church with him, and then we started dating. And we did small dates, like we went kayaking and the Grand Canyon. I was kind of like, I just got out of a bad relationship, so I didn't want to move that fast. So I tried to do a lot of double dating activities. So we took things a little slow, but then not slow, of course, because he proposed on October 29th, which is actually the day between our birthdays. And we always say that it would be funny if we had our first child or one child on the 29th, because it would be midpoint of our birthdays, because our birthdays are exactly 2 weeks apart. And so that yeah. So then we got married November 26, 2008, and we had actually planned to get married in April, but we went ahead and just got married sooner. We're like, well, we'll have a small reception, and then later on in the future we'll have, well, a small ceremony. We'll have a bigger one. So we did have a lot of people there because it was the day before Thanksgiving, so a lot of family members were able to come. My mom came on her lunch break, and my oldest sister wasn't able to come, so they were the main reason I had promised I would have another wedding. Plus, I wore his mom's wedding dress from the 80s, which actually fit perfectly. It was amazing how everything just went together so smoothly. We only spent about $75 for the marriage certificate and maybe $50 on some food for the reception part of it. So it's like, weddings really don't cost that much. So after that, we knew we wanted children right away. We started trying for a baby, and then I found out I had PCOS in February. And like I said before, that doctor just put me on birth control. I went on it for 6 months, and I decided I didn't want to take it anymore. I had actually started my CNA Um, but anyway, I started as a CNA, so I was working in a nursing home, and when we moved in together, my husband was in a little apartment that was like really old and had hardwood floors, and the heater didn't work. It was so cold. And I told him, I was like, we are not having children in this apartment. So I knew that we were going to move out as soon as the lease was over in 2009. So we did, and we found a cute little apartment that was 2 bedrooms, 2 bathroom, um, right next to my work, the nursing home that I worked at. It was about an 8-minute walk for me, which, because I just started driving, and I could not drive a manual or a stick shift to save my life. So um, I wasn't driving. And the first time I tried to drive my husband's car, it was a 98 Toyota Corolla. I tried to drive it, and I got stuck at a stoplight, and it changed about 3 times, and it was really making the people behind us mad. So it's like, I can't drive your car, I'm sorry. So, but then it started having problems in August that year, 2009. So we went to the car dealership that's right next to our apartment, and with my credit, we could only get Mazda 6 2004, which is a really nice car. You know, it's perfectly fine. But he has bad credit because of his student loans, and it's been hard to make huge payments because of the economy and him not being able to really work that much. Because he had actually found a job in graphic designing in 2009 after we moved into our other apartment, and it only lasted for about a year before it went down and stuff. So, but anyway, the end of 2009, we decided we were going to have our vow renewal because we were doing pretty good. We were making like $1,000 extra a month, so we were putting away a lot of money. And my family had actually decided they were going to move out to Indiana. And well, because I was actually born there and I was raised there until I was 11 and a half, and then we moved to California until I was 17, and then I've lived in Arizona for 4.5 years. So we decided that we definitely need to have the vow renewal before they all moved out there, and they wanted us to go with them, but we were very financially stable. We had good jobs. We had a nice apartment, so we were like, we're just really comfortable, you know. And I have a really big fear of tornadoes, so it's kind of hard for me to think of living out there again. It's just really scary. I can't handle bad weather. That's why I love Arizona. But then Daniel decided, because he ended up getting laid off because that job went under, and he decided that he wanted to do it on his own. And so he's like, well, let's go to Indiana with your family. We'll start up our own business and everything. And he had already had the website designed and everything for it. And so we had the vow renewal, which was pretty expensive because we had already sent out the invitation. So we're like, well, we're going to just go ahead and still have it. And I mean, it was a beautiful ceremony and reception. My mother and I made like everything. And because it was butterfly theme, when I was a little girl, I was always like, well, I want to dance with my daddy to the song Butterfly Kisses. And I didn't, you know, it's just kind of weird to have it. So then I found my wedding dress, which my wedding dress came like that. Everybody thinks that I sewed the butterflies on it, but it was actually embroidered on there and stuff. It's the way it was made. It was gorgeous. I love it. So yeah, pretty much everything at that wedding was homemade by my mother and I. We spent so much time on all of that. And then we went ahead and moved out to Indiana, and we were out there for about a month, and it just didn't really work out as well as we wanted it to. So we went ahead and moved back to Arizona, and so here we are. So I'm actually going to have 2 videos for this because they're just getting too long. So be sure to look at part 2, okay?